Welcome to Jobtopia, the #1 learning and development podcast. If you've been following along, you know we've been doing a deep dive into robotics and automation and trying to figure out what are the pressure points, what are the challenges that businesses are having. I've had system integrators on. We've had a lot of different uh, professionals that have looked at this from different angles. And it occurred to me in the conversation that I had with Varun, which you're going to meet here in a minute from Trilogy Next Gen, that there are sets and stages of businesses that have either the right level of intelligence within their facilities or within their warehouses, supply chain. And there's others that don't, but they want to really start embracing automation and robotics. There is a missing link here, and that is, how do you create a smart warehouse? How do you create a smart supply chain or factory? There are some critical technology stack that needs to be built. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today with Varun. Thank you so much for taking some time out.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Tony.
Yeah, how's everything in Texas? Are you guys still feeling like it's blazing summer, or is it starting to chill a little bit?
It's actually, there was a news that minimum number of 100-degree days in North Texas since 2007. So it's been great summer in Texas this year.
So, a minimum number of not 100 days. So, for those of
Yep,
you, what he said was, typically we have a lot of days over 100.
about two
That is
months.
brutal. That is brutal too. And plus, you get the humidity, and then now
Yeah.
it's a bath. You go outside, and you're like taking a bath. Um, so hopefully, I set that up the right way for you, because as a really, I am an outsider in the sense that, being in marketing, but I work within the industry. I'm not the integrator, right? I'm not dealing with the tech stack every day,
Yep.
but I'm discovering these are the challenges that businesses have. Like, for me, in staffing, like, I want to see us advance, but before I can do that, I have to clean my data. So for me,
Yeah.
there's some steps I have to take. It sounds
Yep.
like, really, in your world, that these businesses have to go through, a tech stack and a kind of a foundational point, right? So they can begin to get
Yep.
that connectivity. Is that correct?
That is correct. What we have seen overall in whether you want a smart warehouse, you want a smart factory, you want to introduce an automation that helps you do your job better or more efficiently, we ended up looking at in a vertical stack way instead of horizontally. What that means is that today, for just supply chain visibility, so you can look at where your supply chain is, what your factory is doing day to day, what are the processes that are working great, what are the processes that are working good but could be better? And where are the gaps? You need that visibility. And visibility is across scanners, sensors, assembly, conveyors, IoT devices.
Mm.
And these are single plants, multiple plants, different parts of the warehouses. And all this needs to be tied together with a very robust and low latency wireless network, which is the foundation of a smart warehouse. And unless and until you have that, you can collect all the data you want, you can collect all the automation that you want to do, but you won't be reliably able to execute it across seamlessly across all these different devices, machines, and humans.
Okay, I want you to repeat that, because this is really kind of the point of my awakening there as well. So, do you really have to have, you said, your own private network?
Yes.
Explain. Okay,
Enterprises,
so explain that, because I did a little more research, and it sounds like you're talking
yeah.
about a like a private LTE or your own 5G network. How does that work? I know you have partnerships, so you handle the solutions. You have
Yep.
some Are you also the integrator, the installer, or do you?
We are the integrator and installer, a
You're
full
okay.
stack
Okay. So yeah,
solution provider. Yeah.
perfect. Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. So, but walk me through just the technical side of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Explain that, please.
So a private network is just like what you have today in your house, Wi-Fi. It's private to you, only you can access it. People that you authorize with a password, they can access it. That's it. Now, what we're talking about is a private cellular network, which is a 5G network, just like you use your phone today, these days. And it's like when you are making a call on a highway, you don't use Wi-Fi, you use 5G networks to make a seamless call when you're driving 80 miles an hour. Now, put that into an indoor factory that is highly mobile, that have different processes going across different parts of the factory warehouse. And there are a lot of people that are moving around, along with machines, conveyors, software stacks, your software MES systems, WMS systems that are doing different parts of the function. Anything that becomes mobile and that requires lower latency, you need to look at what a private 5G network is. Inherently, cellular is a different technology than Wi-Fi, but both are complementary, where Wi-Fi has been great technology for stationary processes, things that don't move, like we go to office, we stay. I'm right now on a Wi-Fi connection talking to you. But anytime I start to move, I start to stand up and do my work, whether it's an AMR, whether it's a human, whether it's a factory worker trying to scan things and moving across a pick wall or a put wall, then they need a reliable connection without having to ponder over, will my Wi-Fi work here or not? And it's just the inherently the technology is made. Like Wi-Fi is a break the connection before you make with another access point. And cellular makes several connections together before a handoff occurs, which gives you a seamless connectivity. And hence, it gives you a better connectivity overall in a warehouse. So, coming back to the point where if you're looking for a true automation and all these systems to work in tandem together, in the long run, you have to look at a holistic OT private 5G network on the production floor, and your IT processes, your IT backend offices could stay on Wi-Fi, but they'll
I
still work
see.
together.
So basically, when you say low latency, you mean basically you need all the connectivity between, in this example, you used maybe a automated conveyor, a scanner, an AGR. They have to remain in constant communication for the
Yep.
automation to remain. So therefore, you can't
Yep.
rely on the traditional, uh, Wi-Fi network. There's too much
Yes.
lag, too much lag is in other
Too much,
words.
too much lag. And what we
Okay.
have found in our deployments is it's 8 to 1 ratio, where every 8 access points that you deploy for Wi-Fi, you only need one for 5G. So it also reduces your point of failure when you're deploying it. And it also increases your efficiency while reducing your management costs. And that's kind of like a rough math that we have found, which is usually an 8 to 1 ratio. Anytime you're trying to provide coverage in your OT production floor, you deploy 8 Wi-Fi access points. To replace all of those 8, you only need one 5G access point.
Mm. I'm
That's from real
curious.
world.
I know there's a trend make everything smaller, and we're seeing this in nuclear energy, for example. There are some
Yeah.
companies out there that are working very diligently to, you think about a nuclear facility, and they can actually put these down. I think now they've got them into the size of like a shipping container, and it can power an entire city. Everything is getting
Yeah.
smaller.
Yeah.
I'm curious, most of us don't know what a 5G network, looks like. What
Yeah.
kind of space are we talking about? Is it in the warehouse? Is it on top of the roof? Where does this thing go?
So it is inside a warehouse. There are three main components. You can power it via AC or DC, however you want. And you need a rack space for housing the brain of the network, which is the core network. That rack space depends on how many devices you want to bring online. We start with at least 100 SIM cards that we hand out, and those are basically on a rack space. just like you typically deploy your Wi-Fi switches or distribution switches or your access switches. And then you mount, just like you mount an access point for Wi-Fi on the ceiling or on the wall, we do a full design, and that design gives you how much do you need. We create redundancy at every junction where we'll deploy an extra server at the rack space level, where if something happens there, what happens if one point of failure occurs? How do you still have a warehouse running? Same with access points. If the one access point goes down, can the other one take over? You may have a little bit poor quality of service, but at least you have a coverage. And that's what it really is looks like. Today, to if you physically look at a Wi-Fi access point and 5G access point, you won't be able to tell a difference till
Ah,
somebody comes and says, this is, 5G or this is Wi-Fi. They seem similar, just functioning in different parts of the warehouse.
so let me ask you this. I always equate things to old and not it's not an old industry, an industry that I used to work in. I used to do a lot
Yeah.
of work within accounting, finance, and tax, and there was a break even point where if you spent X amount of money per
Yeah.
year on external tax support, you got to the point where you realized you just need to hire those professionals internally, and it became, a business decision. It's now time for us to just bring that expertise in house. And
Yep.
I'm wondering, when you look at new customers and new customers are trying to figure out when do I need to go to this, can you kind of help us understand, like,
Yes.
when is it the right time to make this investment?
Yep. So there are several things that businesses overall are looking to solve. It could range from one of few of our processes are not good. We are not able to collect the data that we need to make efficient decision on the floor. When an escalation happens or when something that deviates from a process happens, to still be able to come back to the timeline I have promised my customer, for example. There could be labor. A lot of 3PLs that we work with end up using seasonal labors, which is, I mean, now the time is starting with Labor Day, October, Halloween, Thanksgiving, then Christmas. There's a lot of seasonal labor that they hire, which goes away in January and February. So they want to get away from those and build automation around it to be able to make sure that if they're hiring 20 people today for the month of November, they're only able to do with five, but still not lose efficiency. And then these are kind of the things that they throw at us that this is what I need to solve. And this ultimately we have to do a business to technical translation where, okay, here is what the problem statement is. Here is what you can do in terms of automation and bringing in more efficiency. One of the key things that Amazon has done is ruined our expectations to have our
Oh,
packages delivered the same day.
they have totally ruined it. I mean, God forbid you want to be a small e-commerce company. I mean, good
Yeah,
luck.
yeah,
Good luck. I mean, the money they have to put into their, intelligent design,
yeah.
how do you even keep up with that?
Exactly. And then the real estate is not increasing. Your order volume starts to increase if you do offer, let's say, a same day shipping, like, Amazon or other people that are doing this today. If you do offer that, that's great. But then, the DHL, UPS trucks are standing outside. How do you get them loaded quick enough to be able to do that? And that comes back to the technical problem of solving this. What can I automate in shipping, for example? Here is my finished good. This finished goods needs to be palletized on a pallet, and then I need to transport it to a shrink wrapper that can wrap, and then it can take it to either storage. So if it needs to be shipped out in 3 days, I put it in storage, and then when it's ready for retrieval to the dock, how can I transport automatically back to the dock, retrieve from the storage and do it? Now this is a business statement that they give us. What can I do here? And the physical space is not increasing. So they want to be able to store these things vertically stacked. So they're
Ah,
trying to use the real estate that is beyond my height and your height, and being able to, store it at a mezzanine level,
you
level
have to do
two.
that. I mean, you can't
Yeah.
just expand horizontally.
Yeah.
You
It
can't
it
afford
costs
it.
money. You lose the money
You
that you're
lose your
spending on
competitive
automation.
advantage. Yeah.
Yep. So so now this problem becomes is okay, that's great. You take a palletizing AMR, you pallet first of all the finished goods that are coming off of conveyor, and then you take a transporting AMR to take that to take those palletized goods to a shrink wrapper. Then you stage them for shrink wrapping. The shrink wrapper automatically detects through an API that it now needs to wrap it. It wraps it, then the AMR takes it back to the storage, takes it vertically, put it 4 feet, 5 feet high, and then bring it down when it needs to back to the dock. And all this needs to happen autonomously. Now, for all these functions to work, you need a reliable network. So we end up doing a vertical stack, first modernizing the infrastructure that is needed for this automation to work. And then each step of the automation, you need a palletizing AMR for the first step. The second step is a transport AMR that is just moving goods depending on your throughput. Third is an automated shrink wrapper that could read APIs of an AMR that has just delivered a fully loaded pallet and being able to shrink wrap it and then call out that I'm done, and then the transport robot gets triggered again, and all these are happening in milliseconds. And that's why the connectivity becomes extremely important. Otherwise you're stuck at shrink wrapper just taking time, and you're just putting packets right there for it to palletize, and now you're losing space
It's
because
stacking up,
now
right? And
everything is.
that's what and that's honestly, I just want you to just stop on that because that
Yeah.
is exactly what I see that happens in warehouses. You've
Yep.
got forklifts that are running into the back of the trailers, not running into, going inside. Hopefully, they're not running
Yeah.
into them.
Yep.
Um, and they have a staging area. And if there's
Yep.
anything that gets in the way,
Yep.
anything at all, it just stops the whole process. And everything just stacks up. And then you look over, and the other forklifts are there waiting. Like they
Yep.
can't get into the area to take it back to the, well, I don't know the name of it, but
Yeah.
warehouses have different names for it when they
Yep.
have
Yep.
the storage, the specific storage bin that it
Yep.
has to go in. Yeah, the whole system just
Yep.
shuts down. To
The
your
whole
point,
system, and then yeah,
those little milliseconds, right? They add up, and then suddenly
they are.
you're
Yeah.
no longer automated.
And it actually gets dangerous. What happens is usually then if I'm running a warehouse, my problem to immediately solve that problem when the trucks are waiting outside, I'll get charged by the hour if I don't load them efficiently, is I'll throw more people at it, more forklifts to move that material. They are driving faster, accidents happen, then you're out of your OSHA guidelines, and then they fine you, and you have an accident that you're trying to now fix. So now you get further delays, and everything kind of like stacks up. All your orders start to get delayed. So how do you make this a very well-oiled machine into each
Yes.
process? And this is only shipping that I'm talking about.
Right. I
Now
mean,
look at
what you
yeah,
described, Varun, is actually not that complicated. I mean,
yeah,
the back end is, but when you think about just the front end, what's actually being done, that just
yeah,
shows you just what it is going to require really to make smart warehouses. So they
yep,
come to you with these problems or a business case like this is what we want to do,
yep,
and then you are able to kind of spec out what it would take. It sounds like you need the 5G network. You got to have your own private 5G network. That's important to
yep,
cut down the latency and give you all the access points that you need. Um, but I was looking, there's several other things that you guys are involved with. I'm going to
yep,
read through a couple of them and maybe we can touch on some of them because I
yep,
see all of this happening and I think it's all pretty interesting. You mentioned supply chain visibility. We've already touched on that. We've touched on factory automation. There's access control for
yep,
remote surveillance. You've
yep,
got remote diagnostics. You need to be able to find and identify and fix problems very quickly. To the
yep,
same reason you wouldn't want the AGR to stop,
yep,
and preventative maintenance. So
yep,
maybe pick a couple of those, and I'd be kind of curious to see how you would design
yep,
something around, say, remote diagnostics.
yep. So I'll start with the before we start remote diagnostics, we need to solve some of couple of the more problems on why surveillance is needed, why
Okay.
workforce safety, whether your workforce is wearing proper PPE, how do you detect a contractor versus a full-time employee?
Right.
Are they supposed to be, if you're running, let's say, 18 assembly lines to manufacture something, then how do you track if your labor is moving efficiently? And labor, by labor, I mean automated robots that are moving materials, picking up raw materials, delivering them to assembly lines, and your human labor that is actually, scanning and making sure these are the right things, and then processing these finished goods back to the shipping part of the warehouse. So how do you manage all these things? And that's where the second part of the network comes in, where you can track your assets, what we call, whether it's AMR, whether it's conveyors, whether it's RF guns, whether it's, sorry about that,
That's
whether
fine. What
it's
happened?
nothing. I just got a pop-up, a big pop-up.
Oh, well,
So
we are, listen,
yeah,
we don't do these on Saturday. Okay. We all
yeah,
take time away from our
yeah,
work. So,
yep,
no worries. I didn't see the pop up. I mean,
yeah.
so
That's
if
good.
you,
That's
if
good.
you got
Yeah.
your, winning lottery numbers delivered,
Yeah.
they're safe. No one knows what they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
So what we've seen is you want to geofence certain areas in your warehouse so the contractors don't have access. Or even for employees, certain employees have different types of access, whether it's for safety, that area requires special, steel-toed boots to be wore
Right.
before you even access that area. And if you're wearing the right kind of boots or not. So how do you track all these things? So that's where the cameras come into the picture. Vision is a great way to flag and tag and say, hey, not wearing the jacket properly, or they're not wearing the safety
They're in an
goggles
area where they
properly,
need a hard hat and this person's not wearing one.
wearing a hard hat, compliance. And then, you know, people come in, seasonal laborers come in, they come in, they go, and every day they come in and pick up, let's say, a push to talk radio to be able to communicate on the floor. Now, how do you track these push to talk radios? Are they leaving them back in fully charged on a charging cradle properly, or are they not? So all these assets need to be ready for the second shift to come in. So it seems like everything is ready to go, and you're not scrambling time. Oh, I don't have my radio working today, and I have to charge it, or I lost the Bluetooth headset. How do I do these things? So while maintaining spares, how do you make sure the processes that you've designed for your automation to works continuously? And that's where the surveillance, the access control, the workforce safety come in together, that you're protecting your goods, you're protecting your assets, you're protecting your human workforce and your fleets of robots that you end up deploying. And all these need to coherently work towards that. Now, this is a different part of the warehouse automation that starts to occur, which is more safety and security focus,
Yeah.
uh,
But
and
you have to have
the
both. I
efficiency.
mean, you can't solve one problem and leave another one out. I mean, these have to
Yeah.
be lockstep.
Yeah.
Uh, it has to be. But I'm curious, when you talk about all these different assets that are surveilled, is there some kind of a chip or something? Like, how are these? Like, that's a push to talk. Those are small radios. Like, how would you track that? Do you actually
Yeah. So
tag it?
you can actually track it just like you track your phones today. I mean, you have a SIM card in it, and the push to talk application
Oh,
that we end up
of
deploying
course.
is a ruggedized phone. You know, those Nokia phones that used to come back in the days, you'll throw them and they'll break a brick. Those phones are still available for push to talk. And it's not just push to talk these days, it's push to text, push to
Yeah, it's
video.
those big
It's
industrial.
it's
Yeah,
it's
okay.
it's it's fully industrial ruggedized smart devices that lets you do more. And these devices are also expensive, so you need to anyways track it. The moment you put a SIM card in, right away there is a tracking mechanism. So all you need is supervisors to have access to a live dashboard. That's not a separate one. That's fully integrated in your current systems, which is your MES, your WMS,
Yeah, yeah,
and,
yeah.
and you're just as a pop-up, you're seeing how am I tracking these, and these are not returned or they're not charging properly, and it's just flagged into color coded things, red, green, yellow.
Now, could you set that
So
up for an automatic notification that you would just like the supervisor, like a floor supervisor would get a ping, hey, there's a problem in the charging station, and it's middle of the day. They just go over and check it and wiggle,
Yep.
wiggle, wiggle, and it's working again.
We do alerts even for if you walk from line 2 to line 3, and that is not supposed to happen. That can
I
also happen. So
perfect.
yeah, you can do a geofencing around these to a 2 millimeter precision to be able to track these
Two
things within the
millimeter.
warehouse. Yeah.
Good
Up
lord.
to. It requires more density deployment. Usually in real world, we see roughly 2 to 4 centimeters is what they say this is okay, that we need to move.
That's a very fine line that you're
Yeah.
carrying. So
Yeah.
obviously very, very accurate. I think it's
Yep.
kind of exciting to see that we have this level of intelligence and system capability to elevate and bring this to life. I heard from another podcast guest that maybe you have some different statistics or maybe some different thoughts on this,
Yeah.
that roughly 85% of warehouses have have no automation or very, very little. What are you finding?
Well,
Similar?
that is true. That is similar. Or they have automation, but it's only a certain part of a warehouse, which is a siloed automation. Delivers some efficiency, but doesn't deliver what it was promised when they bought it, probably.
Uh-huh.
So unless and until you understand the full flow of a warehouse workflow, and without changing too many infrastructure and current processes that have proven to work till today, how do you enhance these? Is what you need to focus. So what we see? A lot of warehouses, a lot of factories are starting to automate. They're designed in a certain way because of the worker safety, the guidelines that they have to adhere to, and
Right.
they're slow to change. And it takes,
Change management. I mean, we
yeah,
talk about this quite a bit. I imagine you've got a fantastic head of hair, so you're definitely not losing any hair. You're not stressing out over this, but that's got
yeah,
to be, all kidding aside, that's got to be a real challenge for you. I would imagine
yeah,
is getting people through that change management, that transition. Like maybe management wants to do it, but you've got to get everyone else on board, and it's like
yeah.
you're pulling your hair out.
Yeah, and then how do you prove it with the data, right? So I can promise on a PowerPoint saying that, oh, I'll help you save $20,000
Blah
over a
blah
year.
blah. Right? I mean, another
So,
PowerPoint.
so how do you prove it, right?
Uh
So the
huh.
only real way to prove it for somebody to convince their management, somebody in the warehouse that says, I'm going to take a stab at it. Let me see what they say. They do, and we have statistics. We did a few press releases around it. One of our customers had did a case study that they had about 22 to 24 pickers coming in every single seasonal during the seasonal time. They had these pickers come in, and they had reduced with just two robots. They had reduced it back to 10, which translated to about $70,000 in savings by just
Wow.
deploying this automation. And these robots just don't do one function. They can then be retrofitted with different attachments that you can use them for other functions once your seasonal rush is gone, for example. So just like you upskill or have different skill sets that you can train your human labor, same way you can
That's
uh
interesting. Right.
yeah,
Right. It would make sense that you would have a multi-purposed, Fanuc arm or something in there that you can, you know,
yeah.
move depending on seasonal or, operational needs. I'm curious with the number of different robotic manufacturers that are out there, with you being an integrator, do you actually partner with and work with any of the robotic companies, or is
We
that
do.
you do?
We do with a lot. Some of the key ones that stand out that we partner with a lot because they solve a lot of rinse and repeatable problems is Peer Robotics. It's a company based out of Connecticut, and they have platforms that have proven to be incredibly helpful for me to solve a problem for my customer. So
You
unless until
said
they help
beer.
us,
Can you spell
uh,
that just so we get it
it's
right?
yeah, it's P as in
Paul?
Peter. Yeah,
Peter.
P
I
as
got
in
it.
Paul, E
Peer,
as in
peer,
elephant, E
peer
as in
robotics.
elephant,
Got
and
it.
yeah, Peer Robotics. So we partner with them a lot, and the good thing with them is they're very agile in terms of listening to the feature sets that we may need more. Because even though you end up deploying, let's say, an AMR, you assign them a mission, they're executing 200 missions a day. Um, Now, out of those 200, let's say three fail. Now, these three are failing. How do you improve that accuracy from 97% back to 100%? Do you need human intervention every single time? Or now could you look at AI to be able to do exception handling for you? Because what a human would do is go all the way in the floor, figure out what's going on, and then say reset the mission or do something so that it gets back on track. Now, could I use all that data that human is using and have an AI agent that could do an exception handling, and before the mission fails, have the robot do the same maneuvering that a human would do? And these are the things that we are starting to work towards in terms of AI, now adding that uh, to the automation mix.
So that's the preventative side of a
That's the
failure.
preventative side.
Right. Now that's different from preventative maintenance or, remote diagnostics. I guess let's kind of maybe finish on that today
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we could go, much deeper, but
yep,
I have found that people like about a 35-minute podcast, 35,
yeah,
40. That seems to be the magic, kind of the
yeah,
magic number. So we have a few more minutes. So why don't you
yeah,
tell us how you go about? Let's just focus on
yeah,
the preventative maintenance because I think that is
yep,
a big save. It's
yep,
kind of similar to what you just said, kind of
yeah,
checking during the automation flow to make sure, hey, we don't have too many vibrations here. We're getting too many
yep,
vibrations. Let's take a look on this.
yep. So, remote diagnostics and preventative maintenance, what usually happens is it's just you react to an action, which is, an action triggers a reaction, which is the Newton's third law. So you end up being, once you start being reactive, you end up being more into reactive maintenance mode. So how do you move from a reactive to, predict preventative maintenance? What can you do to prevent issues from occurring? So that's where the machines that are transmitting data for health, like what is their wear and tear status, what has historically happened, and what are the networks that we're deploying that could predict that these machines are overloaded. Historically, we have ran it for 8 hours, producing 20,000 orders. Now, because of the rush, now I'm using this machine more, and the output has increased to 23,000. So when do I have to schedule a preventative maintenance? For example, right now it's scheduled for December. Can I schedule for November, depending on the number of orders that have come in? And these are just all dynamics that are occurring. So it all comes down to being able to transmit these stats uh, with the health stats that the machine has. All these systems that are siloed working, all these vendors that are making their machine smarter need to be able to communicate holistically on what part and what part of the process could break that you could do a preventative maintenance on, including the AMRs that are deployed. Can we look at the casters? Can we look at the LiDARs? Can we look at the vision cameras that may need some preventative maintenance? And all this data depends on when we can real time and continuously transmit this data back in a very coherent way to look at it and being able to say, yep, this is an issue that
Yeah.
may occur, high accuracy, high potential, and this is what we need to resolve for. So right now, the human in the loop process is what we use, where we get this data, a human looks at it, and it's able to predict failures and automatically generating work orders to avoid downtime. Now, can an AI agent do it? That's the question we are trying to figure out right now, and
Mm.
actively working with several customers to be able to do these things with less human of a in the loop interactions. Again, it comes down to what kind of data can I use today to be able to predict that this may happen, and I'm confident about 70 to 90% or 80% that this is going to happen, and you may need to schedule a work order to be able to fix it, or move this assembly line and shut it down for 3 days once the downtime occurs. And
There
how do I
you go.
manage that workload?
You just said
With I
something very real important there about the downtime, and I was thinking
Yep,
that it would be an advanced ask it'd be fantastic if it was if all the systems were talking together and you could have one planned shutdown,
Yep.
you know, rather than here and there sporadically, because that ultimately affects your profitability and
Yep.
your efficiency. So
Yep.
when we can get to the point where yes, and maybe some of the smaller, easier machines that, you know, we have replacements for that we, you know, we can take this one offline and we still have another
Yep.
backup, you know, where it doesn't affect our productivity.
Yep.
But if we could get to the point where we just have one generic shutdown and it's full maintenance, you know, that's the ideal scenario because you plan for it, and then you can get through it. Otherwise,
Yep.
we're in this reactive world, and I tell you what, if as you say, we're outside of Labor Day now, so we're coming into
Yeah.
the holiday rush.
Yeah.
You do
Yep.
not want an unplanned shutdown because
Yep.
if you're an e-com, like this is your time. Like this is
Yep.
it. This is your Super Bowl.
Yep. We talk
That's
to a lot of continuous improvement managers, and the way they explain their jobs is to be paranoid about things failing. And
right.
how do we prevent
They're
that?
like exactly. And that's kind of a horrible way to go through life. You know, like,
Yeah.
you know, we want to be positive, we want to be optimistic, but if
Yep.
you're a QC, that is not your job. Your
Yep.
job is looking for what's the problem around that corner. That's great.
Yep.
I tell you, I think you and I could go on and on and on, and you've got so much great
Agreed.
knowledge
Yep.
because you're working in the field. This is fantastic. We'll have to have you come
Yeah.
back, Varun, and we'll maybe dive into some other areas that you're seeing because well, for a lot of my guests, this is their first time, you know, talking to our audience, and then we come
Yep.
back, we do a follow up. Maybe we do something a little bit different. So it's been
100%.
great. It's been
Thank you
great
for,
getting to know a little bit more about I guess the service offering,
yeah.
I guess, you know, of Trilogy Next Gen.
Yeah.
What's the best way for people to connect with you?
They can connect with me on LinkedIn, also on my email, which I can share with you.
I'll drop it in the
In the
show notes, so you don't have to actually say it. We'll just put it in the show notes for everybody.
Yeah, that'll be great. Tony, thank you for having me. It was a great conversation, and I agree with you. We could go on, and this could be a 5 hour podcast, which will
You know,
eventually bore
maybe
people
you
out.
could do 5 hours, maybe Joe Rogan. I don't know. We're not Joe Rogan. So,
Yeah.
you know, we're not able we could listen, we could do a 3 hour,
Yeah.
but the viewership's going to go.
Oh,
For those of you who
yep.
just were on audio only, that was a roller coaster dive. So straight off a cliff.
Yep.
Varun, great seeing you again. Very informative. I feel much more equipped now to understand what needs to happen to create these smart and intelligent warehouses. So really appreciate you spending some time and explaining that to us today.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Take care. See you next time.
Yeah.